Hey Honest community, before we dive into this episode, we've got a quick free favour to ask. If you enjoyed the Honest Property podcast, please hit like, follow and subscribe wherever you're listening from. It helps us grow, reach more people and bring on guests that you want to hear from. Thanks for being a part of this. We appreciate you more than you know.
Hello and welcome to the Honest Property podcast with your hosts Becky and Ruth, the Honest Property Sisters. We've built a multi-million pound property portfolio over the last 12 years and we talk about building wealth, purpose and freedom that actually feels good. So today we're going to talk about a popular question, which is how much deposit do I really need to invest in property in the UK right now? But when we first started, how much did we put down on a property? It was about 25% deposit.
Yeah, I imagine that is still the case with buy-to-let lenders right now anyway. I don't think that's changed at all. Some first-time buyers, so you can... okay, this question is quite a broad question because it depends on how you want to invest. If you are investing through owning a property and living in it to refurbish it and then rent it out or sell it, you're going to be using a residential homeowners property product, mortgage product, which usually needs much less deposit down. If you are not planning on living in that property and you are literally just buying a property to rent it out, you're going to probably use a buy-to-let product, which is a landlord product basically, but that is more like a business loan. You just tend to just pay for just the interest on the loan, not the principal, like you would with a property that you're living in. They will ask for a lot more deposit down. So that's usually around 25% deposit minimum. The other layer to this question is where in the country you want to invest. So if you invest in the south generally, or like the closer you are to London, essentially, the more expensive property is going to be. So you're going to need to put more down. Whereas if you go further up north, properties are much cheaper. And you don't need to put quite as much down. The other thing is it depends on your personal situation. Are you employed? Are you self-employed? Because if you are self-employed, the bank or your lender is going to want a little bit more security from you if say, for example, you're a freelancer. So you'll need to put a bit more skin in the game by putting something closer to 30% down.
But also, if you're not buying it in your name, if you're buying it in a company, that also puts another spanner in the works.
And all these variables are so I think people get confused and muddled when it comes to investing in finance, because investing is actually such a personal decision and it depends on your personal goals and your personal circumstance, how you move forward. So that's why it's kind of hard to just give a blanket answer back. But we can reference our own situation. So, for example, Ruth and I started buying property with buy-to-let products. We weren't living in the property, which meant that we had to put 25% deposit down minimum.
Yeah.
Obviously, the more deposit you can put down, the less risk you have, and the cheaper your mortgage overhead is going to be. And it gives you more breathing room if the rates rise, which they will.
Yeah. In our situation, our interest payments were like 1-2%, weren't they? So when we first started, we were like, yeah. But even though, that was pretty amazing, pretty financially free by that time, because we didn't have any overheads. We were still living at home because we were like 20. But when the interest rates then rose, our properties had appreciated in value and the market rental rates had also gone up. So it didn't really change too much of what we were getting because we didn't buy our first properties at the rates that were at the higher rates already, if that makes sense.
So you're saying that because the rent went up as inflation went up, regardless, the increasing cost of the loan, the rates going up for the loan didn't. It did a bit. It did. I felt
And
it.
it wasn't drastic.
It
It
wasn't
wasn't
drastic.
drastic in the way that the news tried to paint out as like it was like the worst thing. I think if you were a complete newbie and starting and you saw the rates at that rate, it gave us a perspective because really in a lot of other countries, the interest is at that rate. It is a high rate. And back in I think it was the 80s or 90s, the rate was like 6 or 7% at that point. And that's when we realized, oh yeah, we were really at a good
Lucky.
time.
Hey guys, if you're new to property investing, we know exactly how hard it is to figure out where to start. That's why we created the Beginner's Roadmap. It's your guide to mastering the fundamentals so that you can move forward with clarity and confidence. Just hit the link in the show notes. Now, let's jump back into this episode.
Yeah. I think that's one thing you forget when the economy is in that really nice phase. That rates go up and down if you have a mortgage. But obviously, ultimately, this is a means to an end. For us, we're not wanting to acquire too many loans indefinitely. We are holding on to these assets for long enough for them to be able to pay down the original mortgages down when the equity is grown enough over a couple decades. And we're like a decade in now, so we just got to stick it out for a decade, and then that's when you're loan free. So I think as long as you know when you're putting down a deposit for a loan that you're in this for the long game, that is the game. So that it means that you're in full control of an asset. Ruth and I were in the paper a little while ago, and there were some comments. We didn't read it because there were positive and negative comments about with us being in the paper. But one of them was, because it's just the news, and they want people to read it. And some people will be really, some people will be really happy for you for starting investing young, and some people won't be happy for you. But one critique that was accurate is that we don't legally we own the assets, but the lender has first charge on the assets. So technically, the lender owns the assets if we default.
Mortgaging it, yeah.
Yeah. So the goal is you don't want to lose. I highly recommend listening to the previous episode because Ruth and I talk about living in a society that is a debt-based society and what that means. But the idea is obviously to, even though it's good debt, is just to reduce the debt in the first place as soon as you can, because regardless of it being good debt, because what debt is you not having full control. And in the world, in the way that it is now, just having anything that means you aren't self-sufficient, or you give your autonomy away to you aren't in full control of your choices, I think is a dangerous position to be in. So as long as you know you've got those loans, and they are good debt that you can ride the tides with over the next couple decades, that is you got to keep that in mind when you are putting a hefty deposit down on a buy-to-let or a residential property that you're going to live in, build up, and sell, which is actually a really smart strategy if you're happy to be living in a bit of a building site and be in the same place for a long time, for a couple years. I would say most people do it, move every couple years and build your cash reserves that way. So yeah. Does that answer the question, do you think, Bruce? How much deposit do I really need to invest in property in the UK right now?
Yeah, I think it's not changed. It's still 25% is the norm. But if you can put more down, like you said,
Do it.
then
Yeah.
do it if you can. And you'll have more cash flow ultimately.
Mm. And
But
one other thing is everything goes up, like properties go up in value, and that's obviously why we invest in them. So the longer you wait, the more expensive it's going to be. So the
yeah,
sooner you
okay.
can start, the
Because
better.
each region is going up 2 to 3% in price. So if you have a large deposit, it means you lower your risk, you have better mortgage rates. So what about as well, how much money do you need to actually put down? Like despite the deposit, just the deposit, how much do you actually need for the refurb cost, the stamp duty, the solicitor fees? There are so many other costs that need to be factored in. And like you said, it depends on the area that you're investing. But in general, on average, you're probably looking at 50 to 70K of total capital to be able to do a project.
Yeah,
Obviously, it's the
I would say that's
where you live.
yeah, on average, I think that's probably right across the UK. For context, Ruth and I were doing maybe putting down 75 per project, and that was like the round figure we always went by. We assumed, and this is based in Bristol. I think it will be a lot more now in Bristol. We haven't actually acquired anything new. We're just balancing our portfolio, making sure we're in a different phase of our journey now, which is um, making sure that we have fewer higher performing as opposed to just acquiring for the sake of it. But I think it would be more now in Bristol, depending on what kind of property it is you buy.
Before we continue, here's a quick thought. Ever feel like there's just never enough time to focus on what really matters in your business? You don't have to do it all alone. As they say, a great team makes everything easier. That's why we've partnered with the Freedom Geek. Their talented Filipino VAs help us with tasks like admin and podcast editing, just like for this episode, giving us the freedom to focus on what really moves the needle. If you're looking to reclaim your time and to work smarter, then check out the Freedom Geek. All the details are in the show notes. Now let's get back to our conversation.
Yeah.
Yeah, so there's the truth. There are so many ways you can do it. It's so bespoke to you and your circumstance. What I recommend is talk to a broker, so then you can see how much you can actually borrow. And from there, you can figure out, okay, so this is the maximum I can borrow. By the way, if you want a broker, just send us a message or comment below, and we can hook you up with our own broker. He's the same guy we've been going to for many years. Highly recommend. Or if you've already got a portfolio, there is a feature. If you use the Landlord app, which is our portfolio management software that we love using, there is a feature on it that allows you to basically from your phone explore financing options, and we'll put the link for that as well down below, so you can explore that and you can talk to them directly.
But if you
If
are
you prefer to
completely
go
new,
that route,
go to a broker and talk
yeah.
about the options. It really helps to talk to someone face to face or even over the phone when you've never invested in property before, because it is, I mean, there are differences and similarities buying your own residential property, but it's good to be really clear and be able to discuss your long-term goals when it comes to investing, using it as an investment, and how many you want and like what you want it to look like. Are you able to then, or if you have money that's going to end up being stuck in that property for how many years, when can you move and buy the next property, or where can you borrow money to buy that next property? So being able to talk to someone, actually talk to someone who knows what they're talking
Ask those
about.
questions.
Yeah.
Oh, there's also commercial mortgage product. Like there's so many different mortgage products, and the truth is, the lenders want you. They want you to borrow money, because if you don't, like that's how they make their money. So there's in the UK, there's a myriad of mortgage products out there. For people who are doing professional HMOs, there are commercial HMO products out there, and their rules will be different. So the best thing to do is to talk directly to a broker, like Ruth said, and find out, okay, this is the strategy. This is the strategy I'm interested in. If it's a higher, if it's a higher, I don't want to say hassle. If it's a higher effort strategy like HMO or service accommodation, because you want that to be cash flowing for you as like your new job, explore those products and what that means for you deposit wise. And then if you want long term buy to lets and like a slower growth with less hands on work, then explore that too.
Just to let you know as well that if you are wanting to do commercial HMOs, you need to prove that you have been a landlord for quite a while to be able to do a commercial HMO. That's now the rules.
Is it? I didn't know.
You can't go into doing a HMO as like your first one if you've never done a HMO before, which makes sense because buy-to-lets are like, make it easy. You've shown that you can do it, to then go up the pyramid of how difficulty of property investing.
I would also actually recommend talking to an independent independent broker, as opposed to one that is like comes from a particular bank, because obviously they will be better. They will be commissioned to
They'll be
provide
biased.
products. Yeah, they'll be a bit more biased. Whereas if you talk to an independent broker, then they are going to have. They will not be pledging allegiance to any particular lender. Pledging allegiance. And you'll just have more options as well. And independent brokers will have, or you can talk to different brokers if you want, because they will have different, they'll have more products and they can inquire with more lenders than you could do by yourself.
Yeah.
That's the best way to go. Just be upfront and transparent with them. They're gonna find out your financial circumstance anyway.
Okay, you can't hide anything.
They have to.
Because show even your credit score. They need to see everything so that they can get you the best deal. Otherwise, if you hide anything, how are they supposed to find the lender that's right for you?
Yeah, exactly. That is the best place to start. And once you find your broker, it's just easier to keep them. So you can ask questions and they'll have like your account number and everything on file to be able to like assist you ongoing. So make sure you find somebody that you really like and you want an ongoing relationship with. Yeah, I know that this isn't the most straightforward answer you were hoping for, but there are like I said, it's so unique to your circumstance. And the good news is, the sooner you start, the better. And there's so many creative ways you could start. We started without any of our own money, but that does take some balancing. If you need any support, then we've got our Aligned Wealth Collective where we can support you, and you can ask us any questions that you have there. Or if you're a beginner, you can check out a beginner's roadmap, so you've got a good foundation of knowledge of where to start from. All those are going to be linked down below as well. But yeah, I hope that gives you some clarity on how much deposit you really need to invest in property in the UK right now. And if you have any other burning question you want us to answer for you in the podcast, let us know and we'll look into it. Any final words, Ruth?
I think
you covered everything. All right, well, we'll see you in the next episode. Yeah. Bye-bye.